What's up, guys? We are back, Car and Car, CIC Interviews. I'm your host, Brian Baffy. This is my co-host, Liam Marcelino.
How you doing?
Behind us, we have a 93 Z32. We're about to introduce you to the owner. I think it's going to be a pretty tight episode.
So we'll do a little walk around before we get into it. Just kind of overview it, and then we'll jump right into the interview. So anyway, Josh, welcome. This is the owner of the 300ZX, and before we jump into it, I figured we may as well just ask a couple questions, kind of talk about the car. So this is 93 300ZX. It's just 3-liter, no turbo, correct?
Yep.
Fair enough.
The regular NA, nothing too complicated there.
Do you prefer that? Or is that just kind of how it is? Because I mean, I know the market for these is like a lot different. It's not as like frequent as say 350s or like some of the newer generations is.
Well, for like this area, they're not super popular. So
Yeah.
when I saw this actually for sale, I had to jump on it. And then actually when I went to go look at it, I then discovered it was the naturally aspirated one.
Okay. So, I mean, starting from the front, this is fully dipped, right?
Yep.
And does this color have a name, or is it just?
It's just like a satin maroon kind of deal.
Okay.
It's nothing in particular. They actually, the previous owner was the ones who did this.
Oh, really?
So
I did not know that. Okay.
what actually is underneath it is a cherry red.
Okay.
And hopefully in the future, I actually like to restore it to that color.
It'll match your brakes.
Yeah, that would be a
Was
very
there
nice touch.
was there anything wrong with the factory paint, or do you know, or did they say anything?
They
I guess it's
honestly
not hard to
just decided to do it because they wanted a different color. And it was just like, hey, props to you for wanting to change it to the way you like it. But
And then went to Walmart and just closed your eyes and picked the color.
That is pretty cool, though, yeah. I mean, I was looking at it for a second right before we started. Is this an aftermarket bumper?
it is. It
Okay.
actually is a whole kit all the way around.
Oh, really?
And the bumper and side skirts are aftermarket. And then for the back, it's actually not a bumper, but actually a bumper cover.
Okay.
So that kind of saves them
Yeah.
a little bit on time.
Yeah. I mean, you said you've had this for about a year and a half now?
Yeah, I bet.
Okay. That's cool. I mean, it looks good, and it, like, when I first saw it, I thought it was wrapped. I did not know it was dipped. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the general consensus of like everyone you talk to. I'm pretty sure that most people just assume it's wrapped. And I mean, they definitely did a good job. I imagine it was just some kind of, not a budget thing, but
You
just wanted to
could
kind of do it and get it
see
done.
bits and pieces where they messed up, and I actually corrected it when I
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
But I mean, ever since like I saw this Maxi Dipped, I was like trying to get out of it. But the color started to actually grow on me. I'm actually a fan of maroon.
Maroon definitely looks good with this color.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't want to sink all my money into doing a restoration when I don't mind the color as it is right now.
So yeah, aftermarket bumper, factory head. Are these factory headlights?
They are.
Those are factory headlights.
Those are one of the coolest things I saw and learned about when I got this car.
I mean, for a 93 being projector lights, that's actually pretty cool.
First one Nissan like put out there actually.
With projectors, that's cool. And then, so it's headlight and then fog light and then blinker.
Yes.
Okay.
At one point, I actually had to replace these from when I got hit. That's the little boo-boo. You can see that over there.
Yeah.
So I was going to go replace them, and kind of just bought a pair, and I got clear ones instead and tinted those.
Okay.
Just because I kind of like the look of it.
Oh yeah, definitely matches your windows with the flat one.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Black definitely looks good with the black.
Definitely. Yeah. And then, I guess moving on from the front, the wheels. Talk to us about the wheels a little bit. What's the size?
Right. Again, the previous owners did this, and I saw it, and it was like a wheel company I've never heard of. They're extremely heavy. Only thing going for them is kind of their looks and their width.
Yeah, they definitely look good. What size are they? Because I noticed that they're wide.
It's 10 in the back and 9 in the front, which I kind of see now why they stuck with those specs, because a stock Z32 actually has a staggered setup.
Really?
So they were trying to keep it somewhat the same for handling and just why they made it that way in the first place. So
And you don't have any kind of spacer on there, do you?
actually on the front I have, I think 3/4 of an inch spacer because it looked pretty funky how it came because they were
somewhat further in.
right. So I wanted to see if I can get it a little bit flush.
Oh yeah, sure, definitely matches both sides.
Yeah, and it's pretty even at the lower end, so I get that. And then tires, what tires are these?
These are Nittos actually on here, but again, I can't think of the specs right off my head. But again, they had them on there, and I think they put them on like brand new at the bottom.
I was gonna say, I mean, they when you were pulling up, I was like, oh, these look brand new.
They are like classified as track slicks, so
Really?
I don't.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
taking them out in the rain can get a little sketchy from now and then, but for the most part,
Sketchy or fun.
Yeah. These things aren't heavy, are they? I mean, do you know the curb weight of this thing?
curb weight. I think there's near 4.
Okay. So it's got a, try and get a weight to
It's
it. Yeah.
pretty heavy. I mean, you can just hear when you slide it. It's old-fashioned
Solid piece of
metal.
machinery. Yeah. But yeah, and then brake setup. So that walked up there.
Yep, those are by Rotora or Rotora. Some people go back and forth with how it is. Kind of not a popular brake company, but they made it for the specs for this car, so it was a little bit cheaper, but not too terribly cheap. But yeah.
Okay, so it's the full like big brake kit.
Yes.
Is that front and rear?
No, the rear is just still the stock Nissan brake setup, but
I mean, you know, front, that's where all the business is. So.
especially needing to stop this on like a dime, it'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Always good to, you know, go for brakes at some point, especially something like this. I mean, I know the Z32 calipers hold up. Like guys will take Z32 calipers and like remove them from these, like if they find a junk one, and then they'll throw them on like 240s and stuff for like drift cars, and they'll do like an independent second caliper.
I have been seeing that, yeah, like a lot of those, and I was kind of curious to see where they went, because I was like, I can use them, I can use the spare parts, but now I'm kind of stuck in the area where I'm looking to find a donor car for spare parts, because it's not easy.
As it gets older, yeah, I mean, especially on the Nissan, or at least the Z community to begin with. It's like, stuff starts to go, and then you find a way to do something, and then everything's gone. So
I feel like the 350Z is where the popularity shot up with it, and then this just missed the curve.
But I mean, honestly, it's it's good because I like seeing these things like clean and still like moving around because it's not super frequent.
No,
you don't see these things everywhere, so that's definitely cool. And then exhaust setup. We talked about this for a brief second, so run us through that process.
Okay. Well, when I got it, it had the classic quad exhaust with it, and it was doing all right. However, it started developing rust a lot and started flaking off. And again, just being a regular car guy, I want something a little bit louder, but cheaply.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to cheap out too terribly much. So what I did was look in to see what people were doing, and people were doing whole exhaust swaps all the way up to the headers. And I was like, I don't have time, and I don't really want to do that. So what I actually did was cut the mufflers off the chargers always in the back, so I didn't cut off everything. And I stuck on 14 glass pipes.
I mean, it sounds good. Definitely.
When I did it at first, I was nervous that it was going to be too drony. I wouldn't be able to stand the noise of it for like long trips. But it honestly doesn't sound too bad, and the cabin kind of actually closes up pretty well, so you don't even hear it that much.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I've been through exhaust training. I know that's a bit of a nightmare. So
Yeah.
that's cool. And with the rest of the exhaust, so like, how difficult is it to get to the headers? Like, do you have any future plans for exhaust, or like different setups, like whether it's like wheel and tire exhaust, anything like that?
Well, at some point, the mileage on the car is at around 145,000, and at that point, the block is running great in this, but if I could in the future, I might actually do an RV swap.
That would be sick. That'd be really cool.
And the main reason why I can do it is because it's a Nissan to a Nissan, and I've already seen about 4 or 5 other Z32s do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it has the engine space for it.
That's cool. That'd be really cool. So, yeah, I mean, you know, if you can, I would definitely support that instead of like, you know, because you can spend the time and jump from like one setup to another, so just sit, wait, and then next thing you know, these things. That would be sweet. That'd be really cool. If we are ready, I think we may as well jump into this and ride around for a minute. Get things going.
All right.
But anyway, here we are, just cruising around a little bit. So go ahead and tell the story of how you found this car, how it came up and how it became yours.
Okay, well, how I first started like looking for a car is that I was looking for some sort of a project car. I didn't care if it was Japanese, Euro, even American, but I was on Facebook Marketplace for about 3 months trying to find something that wasn't too far, but something interesting to work on. And then this popped up like on a Monday morning, and I actually asked my sister, I was just like, hey, before you go to work, hop in the car, we need to go check this out real quick. So we were on our way to go look at it, and it was like 5 minutes from my house, and
Dang.
I was like, this is the weirdest car I've ever sat in. So I had to make an offer, and when I pulled up to go like talk to the owner, it was actually a mom that was the owner.
Yeah.
Like, it was a mom car. She was taking
That's
her
so
kids
cool.
around to like soccer practice in this thing. And I was like, I don't know how you were doing that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tight interior. It's very, you know, but that's like good, like relating to like 90s JDM stuff specifically. It's like it all kind of had the same basis, I noticed. And I mean, this is, you know, I'm not the biggest dude in the world, and it's like, it's comfortable for me. These seats are very comfortable, and you know, I have ample leg room. I can sit here for a pretty long time.
Right,
and I mean,
exactly.
everything's kind of like to yourself. It's not so much like passenger oriented as it is driver oriented. Like all the climate control, the window, or not even window controls, but like headlight controls, everything. Specifically, climate is all like facing you, and it's directed at you, so you can see what's going on with that. And then it's like, I'm just here, you know, I'm along for the ride at that point. I mean, very, very clean interior, definitely. It's pretty spotless. It's definitely spotless. I mean, you know, dash is perfect. You know, all the center plastic pieces are perfect. I mean, back seats look good. You know, they don't look the most spacious back there for Brian, but
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry, Brian.
and yeah, I mean, I mentioned before we left, like, I wish it was a little bit sunnier. You know, we didn't have to record audio, because I'd love to ride in this thing with the top. Yeah, with the top
Yeah.
off.
I don't know if it's technically considered a convertible, but yeah, you can't take the roof
classify
off.
that. Yeah, and I mean, is it super windy in here, or is it windy at all with the roof off? Like,
Actually, a really interesting feature, when you take the T-top off, a little spring-loaded wind deflector pops up.
top, so that way it keeps the wind off your head. That's so cool.
And I
That's
honestly,
really
I can
cool.
have an easy conversation with someone or listen to music with these windows rolled up, and it's
Yeah, take the top off.
super,
Yeah.
like not loud at all.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, yeah, you know, we were talking about the exhaust setup earlier. Like, it doesn't drone. You know, when you want it to make some noise, it definitely gets up there. I like how it sounds. It's got that classic Nissan sound to it. I mean,
When you step on it, it actually does kind of sound like a 350 with the trumpeting.
yeah,
And it's
just,
like-
just a tiny bit, but I guess because of the displacement, it's like it's a little bit more tame, and there's more of like a harmonic note to it. It's not so much of just like as much noise as possible, which I noticed with the 350s at least.
Well, that's actually like kind of the theme with this car. It's not a drift car, it's not a stance car, it's what the Japanese were doing at the time. It was muscle. They were throwing just liters at cars at that time, and that's like, again, I didn't know any of this really when I bought the car, but as I learned about more and more about the history behind this thing, it was
this was coming off of like the fair ladies and stuff like that. Was this still considered a fair lady? That is one thing I did not know.
They did consider it a fair lady, except the badging on it, very few had like the fair lady badging on it, and it was like an option that you couldn't have it on, or something like that. But a lot of people still consider it a fair lady Z.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like this is all good timing with them coming out with the new fair lady. So it's like it's cool, and I mean, you can, you know, even when we were talking about the outside of the car, you can see like how they kind of paid homage to the old fair ladies, and you know, even parts on this, like with the taillights, you can kind of tell that they reach back into the catalog to, you know, like pull not old parts, but like take the old styling trends out of things, and you know, I mean, even the interior a little bit, you can kind of tell that they went back and looked at the old stuff that they had done. So
exactly, they drew inspiration from, I believe, like the 240 originally, and then they started taking pieces from other ones, and like then you started seeing different silhouettes from different angles, which is really cool.
Yeah, and the roof, the back side of the roof on that is something I noticed, because this is the same way. It's like, you know, rounded A-pillars, and then it's like flat. You know, it just goes straight back to the back of the car, and that was always the styling that is like timeless. I feel like with cars, like it always looks good. It always has, you know, that sport coupe look to it, and it's like, you know, or you know, the sport hatch look to it and everything, and you can really do some cool things with that. I mean, these things have always like been something that caught my attention, like regardless of where it is or, you know, how it looks. The 300s definitely catch my attention, and you definitely got a clean one. I mean, this thing's gorgeous, man. So,
well, thank you. I mean, I spent many hours just trying to like get the little details and stuff that I liked on it. And one of the biggest things is, the silhouette of this car is just such a cool, iconic thing.
Yeah.
And actually, that's why I deleted the rear windshield wiper, is because it just flowed nicer.
Yeah. You didn't have anything like sticking off the side of it and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I totally get that. I mean, yeah, with the coil setup, this thing, it rides smooth. It's definitely comfy. There's, you know, doesn't feel like super over the top.
Stiff your springs out more than that, right?
Right, exactly. So, suspension-wise on this thing right now, it just has, bear with me, the plain basic eBay setup. I know I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for that, but
from what I've heard, man, I haven't seen someone use these coilovers and be like, I can't stand them. I mean, Gage, you know, we'll refer back to that episode. He's on the same coilovers. I don't know if you had talked about that, Brian, but you know, and they got the job done, and they hold the car pretty well. So I think it's cool. I mean, you know, you can kind of reach out. You know, you don't have to spend the extra thousands of dollars for specific parts like that. I mean, you know, obviously you can kind of say you get what you pay for, but at the same time, you know, when it comes to stuff that has a name on it, I get that. But at the same time, with that, you know, these coilovers are comfortable, you know.
And I wasn't trying to like cheap out or anything like that, but I am trying to stay on a budget, and that's when I was looking for recommendations, and then people were telling me how, these coilovers catch a lot of flack, but it gets the job done. I'm not looking for anything crazy. I'm not gonna send this to like a track or anything like that, or I'm not looking to be super comfortable in it.
You kind of just wanted that common middle ground.
Exactly, yeah.
And, you know, keep the lowered look to it.
Are you planning on keeping it at this height when you're gonna adjust them?
If I could, I might lower it about half an inch all the way around. And the reason why I want stiffer is because every once in a while, if I'm going over like a small bump or something, it'll rub just the tiniest bit.
I was gonna say, because it doesn't poke that much really at all, but there's just a tiny bit that I can totally see that, you know, if you catch a bump the wrong way, like, you know, or if you're on the highway or something like that, you can just barely nick it, you know. So I get that, you know.
When I bought the car, it actually had the stock suspension on it, and I was just like, you guys ever switch this out or put new ones in? They're like, nope, always had the same one. And I took it for a ride, and first bump I hit, both back tires rubbed, scared the life out of me.
Dang, because I mean, it's lowered a good bit now. You know, those, so I can't even imagine. It was probably just 100.
They were pretty.
Some 1,000 mile suspension, right?
They were pretty well shot up.
Yeah, I could understand that. I mean, parts like that, they lasted, but once you get up in the numbers a little bit on the odometer, it'll definitely break itself in, to say the least. So I totally get that. But
so when you were outside of the car, you said you had a little boo-boo.
oh yeah.
You wanna take us through that? Tell us how that was.
Okay, so it was actually almost exactly about a year ago.
Yeah, last H2O.
And it was in Ocean City during H2O. I woke up Sunday morning, right the day I was gonna leave, and I was taking the bags out to the car, and I looked over and thank God it was plastic, because it was all torn up on one side, and I was just like, that's weird. And then I looked closer. I'm real groggy in the morning, and the indicator was broken, and the fender and the front bumper were dented pretty bad.
Dang.
So I was like, I had not a clue what happened.
There was no note or anything?
No note, no nothing. And what I was guessing was that a truck or something took a tight turn or something.
Okay.
And its back tire just shoved my car
Dang,
in a direction. And I was just like,
I did not know that. I never knew what that was from. So I mean, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm popular kind of keep the trucks out of H2O. Just for one weekend, just stay out of it.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate trucks. I love trucks. I love truck
Yeah.
builds. But
Other than H2O.
Yeah. At least don't hit people. And if you do, leave a note.
or roll coal on
Nah,
me
just
when I have my
stay
T-top off.
Yeah.
That's
stay
also.
Yeah, but dang, man, I mean, that sucks. Minor setback. The car is good.
Yeah, but
so.
you definitely made the most out of it though, because you got a little descriptive bandage right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of dope.
So
Keep the heritage in
again, the bumper and everything on this car is hard to find, and if you do find it, it's really expensive.
it. Yeah.
So what I did is I went out, bought a dent puller, pulled the majority of the problem out of the fender, and then took like a razor blade, and I just made straight edges where the plasti dip was like messed up, and I just tore it all off. And I asked my good buddy who was good with wraps and stickers to come by. I was just like, hey, I have an experiment for you.
Yeah. That's cool.
So now there's a giant band-aid on the front of my car where it's like, hey, it's a good story.
Yeah.
It looks kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely catches your attention. But yeah, I mean, that's how things go. If you hit people, leave a note.
Yeah.
And don't hit people.
Mm.
But anyway, Brian, do you have
Or
anything
just stay
else?
out of vision sight.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
Just for the viewers, what I know that I ask this all the time. What are your future plans with the car specifically? Like, you can take us through the next 3 things you want to do, or just in general, like whether they're small things or big step ups. Just like tell us a couple of things you want to do in the future to this car.
Well, one thing that's like the biggest thing I would ever want to do to this car, if I'm able to, is if I can find an RB engine, either a 25 or a 26, whatever I find available, and do the swap. Because a lot of people are doing it to these kind of cars, and it's something I'm very interested in doing. But again, I'd have to find like a donor car of some sort, because they're not super cheap, but they do fit in these extremely well.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Something different. I mean, you don't always see that really at all. I know that something that a lot of guys like to kind of jump into, especially with the swap on this car, would be an LS. There's one down in H2O every year, oddly enough, that I see every single year, and I think it's got a turbo LS.
What color is it?
Red. It's the same red that this originally was.
I think I've seen
But yeah, I mean, near future, do you see yourself changing anything up?
Again, I do not mind my coilovers at all, but if I were to, I'd like to get different wheels and tires for it, and then with that, inevitably get something of BC racing coilovers on here as well.
I love BC racing.
Yeah, there's definitely some quality coilovers.
Yeah.
So before we end this episode, you want to give us a little rip? So
Once we get to
if they haven't heard it yet,
straight
they can
spot.
hear you. Long ass gears.
Dang, man, yeah.
Really.
She got
good
it.
though.
I was just waiting for the shift the whole fucking time, and it just didn't happen.
It's got a long, it's a
Oh.
VQ gears.
Yes.
Sweet, man.
Hopefully we can get maybe even a better sound on this straight.
It's the views. I'm down.
$7,000.
Dang, man, she gets up. Feels good. All right. You got anything else, Brian?
Yeah, it's kind of gonna be hard to hear me. We'll catch you guys next week. Thank you, Josh, for being on the show.
Yeah, man.